Kidnapped, walking the scene, reviewing old flicks from the 90s. So keen, the VHS Club, they're the talk of the town. Breaking it down, spreading nostalgia all around. Moving and grooving to the synth-pop sound. Their insight so fresh, painting pictures profound. From Pulp Fiction to Clueless, they know it all. The genuine love from movies stands strong. Unfolding memories on that VHS screen, talking about classics like you've never seen. Katie with her charm, Matt with that wit. Together they make the VHS Club legit.
Welcome to the VHS Club. We're feeling a little bit silly because it's Halloween Eve and Val just made it right in time. So she made me laugh as she slipped in the door before the door closed. Welcome to the Nostalgic Pod Blast. We're so happy you're hanging out with us here tonight in the live studio audience. That's hard to say, Nat.
I didn't even try, so yeah.
You're like, yay! You mess up the
Yay!
words. Yeah.
Katie can talk.
Katie can talk.
I
Katie
not,
can
not
talk.
me.
If you are brand new to this podcast, we're sorry. Buckle up. We're in the middle of spooky season, which we're continuing for one more week into November because things fell apart for us in October. So we're getting back into our vibe. Yeah, October remains still awesome, but it
Yes.
wore us out a little bit this year.
A little bit of a October slide, as we say in the chronic illness community. So.
Yeah, we had a little bit of October slide. Yeah,
we're rolling with it.
We're rolling with it. But this was so much fun. So I'm thrilled that you all let us do tonight's movie because this is one of my favorites, and it had been a while since I had seen it, and I have had the Suddenly Seymour song stuck in my
favorite
head.
song.
My favorite song. I've had it stuck in my head for the last
decades.
Year. Yeah,
okay.
if not more. And it held up. I like the second it started, I was just like, and one more time, we're gonna back that. Rewind. Let's listen to that one again. All movies should
love
be musicals.
Rick Moranis.
Yep.
So cute.
Rick Moranis.
Still have a crush on Rick Moranis.
Rick Moranis is so absolutely adorable. I'm gonna live in this era where he was still acting. I totally respect his decision to stop acting, but I miss him dreadfully.
What a hero!
So, what a hero! Let's have a moment. You know what? Let's have some applause for Rick Moranis. Applause for Rick Moranis.
In case our audience doesn't know, he quit acting when his wife became ill, and so he could be a full-time stay-at-home dad.
Yeah.
And what a legend.
What a legend. What an absolute legend. Yeah. All right, well, let's jump into it. This is a musical horror comedy. I'm going to go with musical horror comedy.
A rock musical
horror comedy.
And
campy. What's the plot, Nat? Tell us about the plot.
Down on his luck, Seymour finds a plant during a solar eclipse.
Yeah.
And realizes the plant likes to eat blood. And plant is actually alien takes over the world. Done.
Yeah. I think that was a good...
And Seymour is in love.
Yeah. It's also a love story.
Yeah.
It's a love
I mean, the
story.
plant is also in love, but with taking over the world. So, yeah.
As
No.
Paul, as our friend Paul puts it, it's a comedy. It's a horror comedy. Comedy is kind of like close to like homicide, of which it has a lot in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel
A
like
homicidal comedy.
it's a homicidal comedy. It's a homicidal comedy. I like that.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done, everyone. So if you are just learning about Little Shop of Horrors, or maybe you've heard about it and don't know a ton about the history of it, don't worry, because we looked this up. It started as a movie in the 1960s, and then
1960.
1960. There you go. I
Yeah.
was right. It's in the 60s. In
Well,
the 60s.
which is in the 60s. Yeah, of course.
Hold
I'm
on.
saying it's
right?
a movie with a young Jack Nicholson, 1960.
1960.
And I remember when this movie came out, my dad was like, "Oh, you girls like Rick Moranis. What about Jack Nicholson?" And made us watch the other one, and it's actually horrifying.
Yeah,
Whereas this one is funny.
If you're like Josh and you're not a really big fan of horror movies, this one, like the 1980s version, is 80s. Don't come at me, Nat. 80s. The 1986 version is for you. If you are not a fan of horror, do not watch the 1960 version, because that one is legitimately scary.
Yeah, and Jack Nicholson, when he was younger, actually was slightly terrifying looking.
Yeah.
Just the sharpness of his features.
I think he's
Like,
still
he
terrifying in
aged-
just a different way.
He aged really well. Like, some men just get better looking the older they get. He's one of them.
Yeah.
Though now he's kind of reverting back to a little crazy looking, but
Yeah.
I mean, he's Jack Nicholson, so whatever.
Yeah. Well, so because
Yeah.
Paul is pointing out the next thing we're going to talk about. So hang on one second,
Yes.
Paul.
Hold on to your pants.
hold on to your butts, as our friends at Morbid say. Hold on to your butts. We're gonna get there. So 1960, and then there was a stage production. Nat,
Yeah.
1981. You said
Off Broadway. Yeah.
off Broadway stage production,
And
and
then it was
it got the off Broadway stage production got turned into the 1986 movie that we are watching right now. So
well, the off Broadway then went, I think in 83, went to like West Broadway, West something.
fair. So it went movie,
Anyway, so it did make it up to
stage, movie, and now continues on in the stage. And before
Yes.
so spoilers, as we always say, which is this show is going to have spoilers. So the spoilers on this is that this movie has two different endings. It probably even has more than two different endings, but it has two different endings. The one that ends fairly nice with a little edge of sinister, and the one that ends full sinister vibes, no sunny or anything like that. And so I watched today the director's cut, and I don't think I had ever seen the director's cut before, which is the same ending as the stage production, which I have never seen the stage production. And it's, in my humble opinion, much better. There's something just wonderful about the full commitment to just
world domination.
and craziness. Like, if you're gonna do a movie about a giant man-eating plant alien, it should take over the world. Like, Audrey II deserves to take over the world. So the sunshiny ending, this movie didn't need the sunshine ending, which I liked. I liked that ending. But I'm for the full
When we were
the full
younger,
ending. The full
when we were
legit-
younger and we rented this, because our parents definitely didn't take us in 1986 to go see this in theaters.
No.
So when we had seen it on VHS,
Mhm.
it didn't have the 23-minute
cut.
director's cut ending,
No.
which is true to the stage production.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm watching it as like, this isn't the ending I remember, but I do know that this happens. And I was a little confused, and Katie's like, "There's two endings." I'm like, "Oh, okay, good. It's not just me."
You and I had the same moment, because I own this on DVD.
I'm like, I know this happens, but I don't remember it.
I own this movie on DVD, and I was going to go through my DVDs, because I'm going to send a couple over to Josh so that he can enjoy these with us. And I was like, okay, well, whatever. I will just go through Amazon and just like buy it or rent it through Amazon because that's easy and fast and I can just get going. And Amazon was like, "Do you want the director's cut?" And I was like, "Absolutely. Who
Yeah.
wouldn't want the director's cut?" And I was about halfway through when I was like, "Oh, while I'm watching, I'll pause for a second and like, what makes the director's cut special just so that I know what I'm looking for while I'm researching and prepping for this episode." And it was like, director's cut has, you know, among other things, the original ending that like was supposed to be in theaters and then they changed it to the theatrical ending. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh. So and then I was gonna look up what it is because I love a spoiler. But I had a moment of like, nah. And then I got all the way to the end and I was like, oh, this is brilliant. And then I went back and rewatched just the theatrical ending, and then I read all of the history about it. But yeah, as Paul said, the audience testing of the bad ending got panned by the test audience, so they changed it to the happy ending. Nat had
because
also heard
everybody
that there was a
wanted-
producer that hated it as well, so there
Yeah,
was a few people angry.
I bounced Katie an article that was in it. It said like producer Brian something with a G maybe. I can't remember. Garen, whatever his name is. I apologize.
Producer
But
Jay,
apparently
we
he-
see you.
He did not like it. He was like, "No, this is terrible." But Frank Oz was like, "Well, I'm still filming it." So he eventually got it out, which is good. Yeah. And so this movie has a lot of cameos,
Mhm.
which are fantastic. John Candy
Mhm.
and Bill Murray.
Mhm. Steve Martin.
Well, Steve Martin had more of a part.
Yeah,
He played
not a cameo, but still incredible to see him. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. Ellen Green was the played
Audrey.
Audrey. Wow.
Audrey
the main
one,
like one
main
of the
Audrey.
main characters, Natalie.
We should stop for a second and give her major props because she is one of
Love her.
and I'm gonna get this fact wrong and Paul will correct me in the comments.
She's
but
like a big Broadway star.
She is a big Broadway star and she
Yeah.
played Audrey in the Broadway production of Little Shop of Horrors. And
God,
then they
love her.
hired her for the movie, which it was at least at the time was completely
Wasn't-
unprecedented. Like they were like,
Yeah.
they did not do that. And she is fantastic in this. I mean, I'm sure she's
God, her
also
voice
fantastic on
kills me.
stage, but
Like
she
her
was
singing
fantastic.
voice is amazing,
chef's
but her
kiss.
speaking voice
Yeah.
is so good.
Yeah.
It's this like high pitched, like sort of like whistle tone voice that she uses, and it's so funny, and it's so it's just so ridiculous. The way she says things like, "Oh, he just broke my arm. I was in handcuffs for a while."
Yeah. Yeah.
In her like cute little sing-songy voice.
She's
Unhinged.
she's very like old-timey Hollywood, like all of the like famous starlet beautiful women in like old-time Hollywood movies always had these like tiny voices to match their tiny waists and their perfect everything. And she just like I think what makes her character so fantastic is that she completely embodies that. Like she is like gorgeous and like thin with this tiny voice and you know and the large chest
really
and
camps it
blonde
up,
and,
though.
but
Yeah.
then but everything she's saying is so dark
Unhinged.
and preposterous and unhinged and like scary and not okay. And her whole character like in the same scenes as Rick Moranis is also just wonderful because he's so like I don't know, like childlike and nerdy and like it's just really I think the casting is absolutely fantastic for this.
Yeah. So-
Literally every character is fantastic all the way through to the voice of Audrey II. Everyone is fantastic.
Which
in
he
this.
was one of the Four Tops, wasn't he?
Mhm, yeah, he
Yeah.
sure was. Yeah.
Stubbs. I can't.
Mhm.
Wow. I'm surprised I remember this because I didn't look that up.
I'm impressed.
I apologize. I can't remember his first name, but it's been a while since I listened to the Four Tops.
Yeah.
A bit before my time too, but
Yeah.
they're fantastic. So I thought Steve Martin was deranged in this. He plays the psychotic dentist
Yeah.
who, when his mother realizes he's into
Pain.
killing small neighborhood
animals,
animals, so to stave off his serial killer'ness,
Mhm.
she's like, become a dentist because you can get paid a lot of money to hurt people. So he does, and he gets off on this, and he's always like high on the laughing gas.
Yeah.
And then we're introduced to Bill Murray's character, who gets off on the pain.
Yeah.
And he gets off on it to the point where it perturbs the dentist.
Yeah. The dentist is
he's
annoyed
like,
because he
"Wait."
wants to cause pain, and Bill Murray enjoys the pain so much that it's not satisfying for Steve Martin's character. This
It
movie
was
made me afraid of dentists.
disturbing,
This is where my
but
fear of
hilarious.
dentists comes from, is this movie. This
Oh,
is
not
like,
Marathon Man?
oh no, because I didn't see Marathon Man until I was a lot older. So this like
Oh, yeah.
this
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 is it.
whole fear of
Well, it makes
dentists. I was like,
sense.
oh, it's all coming rushing back. Like this is
Terrifying. But
this
yeah,
is
that scene was completely unhinged.
it's very
I
much-
don't remember, probably because I didn't get it as a kid, like how sexualized
Oh
the
yeah,
movie is.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, Bill Murray's character was even scarier than
Yeah.
Steve Martin's
I
character.
I agree. Both pretty creepy, but I agree with you. I think Bill Murray's character is scarier. Our tater tots are helping with all of our missing gaps because it's Halloween Eve. So Josh is saying that the producer you mentioned, Nat, is David Geffen.
Close to Brian,
to
definitely
say.
there was a G.
Yeah, David Brian. It's the same, right?
And instead of 2 R's, there was 2 F's.
Yeah, there you go. And Val
Thank
is
you,
saying
David Geffen.
Levi Stubbs. So you were like
Yes.
50% there.
Oh,
Yeah, first
it's
names are
phenomenal.
stupid. I'm with you.
oh, Levi Stubbs is such a great name, though.
It is a great name. And
If I was writing a book, that would be a name I would hope to be able to come up with.
absolutely. And he's absolutely it, like his
Phenomenal.
voice and the character of Audrey II is phenomenal. I want to talk for a second. Okay, so let's just take a second to fully appreciate this because this still blows my mind. This movie is directed by Frank Oz, who is the voice of Yoda and like every puppet. He's the voice of like every Muppet puppet person out there. Like
He's
Miss Piggy.
one of
he's
the
like
creators
yeah.
of the Muppets.
Yeah.
He's like one of the major puppeteers
Yeah.
of the Muppet
So you
show.
have him, and then you have like the musical team behind The Little Mermaid, okay, who
Yeah.
come together to make a horror comedy in which the giant puppet plant kills everyone, but does it with singing some truly amazing songs. So amazing that
good.
that one of the songs from this movie was nominated for an Academy Award, which again is
As it should
crazy
be.
for a horror movie because horror movies, as we talked about last episode, literally never win Oscars. So it like Silence of the Lambs is a weird, rare exception that
Yeah.
won, but like no horror movies ever win. And so the fact that a horror musical was nominated for the music is just the best. It's just the best on
Yeah.
so many levels. And the fact that those songs, if you listen and are like rewatching this movie or watching this movie for the first time, there are moments in the music that sound like the Little Mermaid songs. And it's
Yeah.
just, it brings like the horror loving adult in me, it brings me such joy because I love the Little Mermaid. And I love when the creators can have a little bit of fun. Like they got to be puppeteers and musicians, and they got to put on like the most ridiculous possible musical, and it worked. And I just love it. I just love it. Charles is asking, which we had just talked about a few minutes ago, Charles, but we will absolutely repeat it. Yes, so tonight
Oh yeah.
we both watched it's actually the original ending where
Yeah.
Audrey II wins and like literally
Takes over
just
the whole
takes over the whole world.
world. Yeah.
But we had seen the VHS version, which was similar to the theatrical, which was the same as the theatrical release, where it ends happily ever after with a slight sinister edge.
Yeah, it's so Seymour and Audrey, they get the money from the TV producers or whatever show that they were doing,
Mhm.
and then they drive off into the sunset, get their little suburban home. But then you see there's a plant, there's like a little feed me plant in the yard, so it does imply that. So Seymour kills Audrey too, and then they drive off into the sunset with all their money and get their cute little suburban house from what is it, Home and Garden? So
Yeah.
the magazines she was looking through. So,
Yeah.
but there is the implication of the sinister ending because the plant isn't truly dead, or maybe it's another one. Like it
You
lets
see
your
a little
mind.
Audrey II,
Yeah.
Audrey 3, let's call it, in the front yard of their white picket fence house. So
Yeah.
But it's in my mind, and go with me here because I know Nat agrees with me, but go with me here, Tater Tots. So I get it. And I loved the white picket fence ending. I think like when I originally saw it, I was like, oh, this is so awesome. It's so fun. Like it's very campy and apropos. Like the whole set looks fake. It almost looks like a dream scene. So there's
It
kind
looks
of
like a
this,
stage production.
yeah.
Like you could even some of the sound, like you hear them walking, and it's like you hear them walking on a stage when you're watching a live stage production.
Yeah.
It's like things like that, like some of the audio, like they really did make it to just sort of be a film version of
Yeah.
the actual stage production.
But it
Which is
makes
kind
it
of
look
cool.
somewhat, to me at least, it made it look somewhat like dream sceney where you're kind
Yeah.
of like, oh, is this actually what happened or did they actually die? Like watching it again tonight, the
Which
theatrical ending.
the characters asked that. I think
Yeah.
Seymour and Audrey both are like, am I dreaming or is this really happening?
And Paul is saying, when I saw the stage production, I had no idea of the alternate ending. I was expecting the happily ever after and Aubrey eats everyone. Yeah. So so in the ending that I preferred in the director's cut, let's call it the alternate ending, even though technically it's the OG ending.
Yeah.
So in that ending, there's this like horrific death scene. So Audrey gets killed and
Yes.
it's like awful. And then Seymour feeds her to the plant, her like body to the plant, which is
She tells him
equally
to.
awful. I know, but
Yeah.
it's equally awful.
It's her dying
It's
wish.
her dying wish so that she can be close to him. And
Yeah,
then
so he could make money off of the plant,
Yeah.
be successful, and she can still be with him
yeah. And
via the plant.
and then he goes and like clearly is just going to kill himself because he literally has nothing left. He was like
Yeah.
he was already like down on his luck and was an orphan and was like living in this plant store. And then the plant has like killed everyone that's around him. And he's gotten all this like fortune and fame and he got the girl, but then he lost everything. Now all he's left is money and the horror of everything that has happened. And then a guy comes up to him and has like a cutting of the plant that has made like a little baby evil plant and is like,
Yeah.
we want to sell these everywhere. And he's, Seymour is horrified. And then he runs back down, has this whole altercation with the plant, and then he's killed. And then
Yeah.
it is like a 23-minute, just like, you know how we were talking, Nothing But Trouble. Do you remember the Nothing But Trouble episode where we talked all about how that movie just was like, what happens if you just give total permission to like let someone make a movie? It's kind of like that, only it works. Like where they just go off for like 23 minutes and like the plant like shows up in all these stores and it's like Cabbage Patch craze, like people buying it and and then like you see the plant like killing everyone. There's like this fun, wonderful
different, like-
music in the background. Like
Yeah, all these different scenarios where these plants are like, you see this old couple in bed watching TV and then there's breaking news, like, and you see the plant is like, people in Pennsylvania are like destroyed, and then you see New York City being obliterated by like hundreds of giant plants killing everybody. It's Anyways, the special effects for the time were considered to be phenomenal.
I mean, it's largely like it's special effects that include a ton of props. So there was something like I want to say there was at least 6 different versions of the plant in puppet form because it starts off there's like a tiny version all the way up to like a ginormous one that took like 60 people to like move around. That
was big.
The work behind this like isn't. I'm going to go ahead and say this, and people are probably going to judge me for this, but the work to create this level of film with a puppet is substantially harder than drawing it, cartoonifying it, computer animating it if we're putting on our like 90s hats. Like all this, I think like the CGI stuff is certainly difficult and is a different skill set, but there's something about like, no, you have to like physically design, build, and move these
There's a certain type of
huge props and costumes and puppets and make it look somewhat realistic. Like it's certainly silly looking.
There's a
but
craftsmanship.
There's a
behind
craftsmanship to it, yeah. That
There,
I just think
it's kind of like how uh, I don't know if you saw this come up online, but people are like, why are wigs in movies so bad now? Because it's
Mhm.
a lost art.
It's
Wig
a lost
making
art.
is
Yeah.
becoming a lost art because there's so much like fast fashion, and so wigs nowadays are
Yep.
predominantly terrible unless you get very, very expensive custom-made wigs. But the people who make them, it's no longer a métier. It's not a job anymore. It's
Yeah.
not something, it's a lost art. And I feel like things like this, like the puppeteering, just the
Hmm.
building the puppets, the moving the puppets, it also is like a threatened art because
Yeah.
it's not something we see or use as much as we used to.
Yeah. And these were people at the absolute top of their game. Like this
Yeah,
was the
because I mean, this
entire Jim
was,
Henson studio team like
yeah.
building all of these. And so you can just imagine.
And this was kind of like a peak time because there
Yeah.
was the Muppet Show,
Oh yeah.
there was this, there was the Labyrinth, like
All the
all
Jim,
of
Jim
these
Henson
Star
was involved
Wars.
in, yeah, all these
Yeah.
movies. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
puppeteering was huge.
It was an art form, yeah.
Yeah, it must have been shocking, like the downfall of puppeteering.
Yeah. Jim
I'm
Henson's
sh
two of his kids were actually involved in this in this movie, which I think is absolutely amazing. So the girl leaving the dentist office with like the headgear and like can barely talk, that's Jim Henson's daughter.
Oh,
And then I
that's so
forget where his
cool.
son was. His son was involved in this film as well. So I just think
Okay,
it's brilliant that they
um,
it was like a family affair.
one of my favorite comedic actors, serious actors. She's comedic as just a living, breathing person. And if you
Mm,
haven't seen interviews of her, please do. I send clips of them to Katie constantly. Marion
constantly.
Margulies.
Hmm.
Okay. She is so funny. She's the nurse that the dentist kept like punching out
Yeah.
every like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
She has this one little bit part. She's a phenomenal actress. She's I think her most famous, I guess, Hollywood role would have been as the nurse, Juliet's nurse in Baz
Hmm.
Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet.
Hmm.
But watch interviews with her, I beg you guys, because she's so funny and so crass,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah, not
glorious.
safe for work. Don't watch those.
No,
Don't watch those
no,
in front of
no,
people
no.
that
Like headphones
yeah,
in,
headphones in.
please.
Yeah. Headphones in. Not but she is
Okay,
absolutely wonderful.
I'm gonna say something crazy. Come with me on this journey.
Go for it. According to Val, this
This,
entire movie is crazy, so it's a safe
it
space. So
is. Yeah.
go
Yeah, yeah,
for
yeah,
it.
yeah. Okay, so in regards to the Disney connection,
Yeah.
this movie, Little Shop of Horrors,
Hmm.
walked so that Hercules, the animated movie, could run.
I had the same moment, and I
Right?
was I was hoping that you would bring up how incredible. So in
The
Hercules,
chorus?
it's the Greek goddesses as the chorus, and
Yeah,
in
yeah,
this
yeah.
one, it's like the
They're
most
like doo-wop
fantastic
girls.
doo-wop
Is that, I
girls.
don't, is that is
I
that
don't
what
know.
they, I think so. Yes, that
Val, help
sounds.
us. You're as a singer, help us identify
So
what there are
so there's
three.
these three women.
Yeah.
They're kind of narrators, and it was a trope used in like ancient Greece
Yeah, they're the chorus. They're
in
like the Greek
plays.
goddesses, but they're
Yeah.
not goddesses in this movie. They're um
Well, I mean, they
I
don't,
mean they are, but yeah.
I feel like they got away, like they're okay. I feel like if anybody survived this, it's the three of them. They were probably the best part of the whole movie.
They were my favorite characters other than Audrey the plant, like who I think is
Yeah.
fantastic. I mean, I love Rick Moranis because I love Rick Moranis, but
Yes, 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 yes.
the chorus are wonderful, and my favorite chorus moment is the very end in the alternate ending where like
Yeah.
the where the plants are like where you first find out that they're like destroying every city, and you just hear the chorus in the background, and they're like, and they ate Des Moines, and they ate, and they're just like listing
New
off
York
city names,
and
and it's and like, but in the most wonderful, like I don't know, like record label level
yeah.
quality singing, and it's
So the
so
purpose of a
fantastic.
chorus traditionally is to kind of
It's the
to
narrator.
help guide the
Yeah,
audience,
yeah.
and also to present some foreshadowing for the
Hmm.
audience, so they don't just guide you through the story, but they prepare you for what's to come. So you
Yeah.
hear through their little songs.
You got to listen to the
uh,
lyrics of all the songs in this movie.
yeah, but you hear also the tone of what they're singing starts to change. It gets darker and darker as the
Oh yeah.
movie
Yeah.
progresses. Anyways, they were fantastic. They're definitely like probably my favorite part of the whole movie.
Yeah.
And and all this to say is in Hercules the animated
Yes,
Disney
you are
movie.
absolutely right.
It's very much like Little Shop of Horrors coded. This
Yeah.
is what it's very they're the same.
Yeah.
Like, I love it. I
Yeah.
think Disney when Hercules came out was just like, what do we have in our like vault?
Yeah.
Oh, this? All right, let's do it.
I love Hercules. We should do Hercules at some point soon. That's still a favorite of mine. An absolute
Yeah.
favorite of mine. Yeah,
yeah.
no, I thought the exact same thing. And I think they were just brilliant in this movie. And I mean, the music in this movie is outstanding, and they are so central to that. So yeah, just fantastic. And Josh is pointing out that Alan Menken worked on both. So really, we're diehard fans of Alan Menken. Alan Menken is up there for us.
Good job, Alan Menken.
Little Mermaid, Little Shop of Horrors, and Hercules, among others. But those are the three we're most obsessed with. Him and Kenny Ortega, who we obviously still, every day.
Yeah.
Kenny Ortega for
Kenny
life.
did not do the choreography for this movie that I know of.
But could have. If he
But-
wanted to, he could have. We know he could do it.
Kenny can do no wrong.
I hope that Kenny and Ellen are friends. I'm just putting that out
Yeah.
there into the world. If they're not, I'm just gonna pretend in my mind that they are, because I feel like they need to be. The creators and the genius behind this movie should be friends with Kenny Ortega, in my personal opinion. That's my hot take.
There are rumors that there was supposed to be, and there were big celebrities attached
Mhm.
to a remake of this that fizzled out due to lockdown early on in our pandemic. So,
Well, we keep hopeful. I mean, there was back and forth about
I think
Beetlejuice, and
Scarlett
that came to
Jo-
life. So
Scarlett Johansson was supposed to be Audrey,
I don't know how.
and she does sing. She does
sing. Yeah, she is an incredible singer.
So that would have been very interesting.
She has the right
and
look, I think. I just don't know how. I don't know. She could do it, maybe.
Taron, is it Edgerton? British kid
Hmm.
in the movie. He was in a skiing movie. He was also in the movie The Kingsman. I'm like the one where Colin Firth was super hot when he slaughtered a whole church full of people, which is disturbing. But
I would have been. I was about to say I'm not very good at these guessing games, but I would have got that one. So I feel like I'm feeling better about guessing games.
I'm like, all the movies where Colin
It's true.
Firth was hot,
It's
which
true.
is all of his movies.
Yeah, all of his movies. Accurate. That was the answer.
So the main kid in that movie,
Okay.
that Colin Firth movie, was supposed to be Seymour.
Okay. All right.
Which I'm like, he's not very nerdy and he's really jacked. So
Yeah.
I don't know, like he's very muscular.
Yeah.
But he does sing, right? He played Elton John. That would have been a much easier reference
Although
for our
Seymour's
audience.
character doesn't really need to be a good singer. Like Rick Moranis is not an incredible singer, but it was fine because
He wasn't bad.
he
though.
wasn't bad, but he was not like he's clearly not a singer. Like he can
Well,
sing.
yeah, he's not like Paul McCartney, but
Yeah.
like,
Well, but what I'm saying is you could hire an actor who is not a singer. Like
Yeah.
you could hire a good actor who can sing versus someone who's a singer first. To
Yeah.
be able to pull that
And
role off.
allegedly Chris Evans was supposed to be the psychotic dentist.
I could see that.
I suppose I don't know. Maybe.
I don't
Maybe.
know. I could see it. I feel like I could see
Though
that.
I think he's like a big theater nerd.
I still, honest to God, I mean, and maybe this would look terrible, but I think that Steve Martin could still do that role. I feel like he could just come back
Absolutely.
and do it. It would be creepy to have him dating Scarlett Johansson, but I feel like it would be fine. It would
I'm
work
like, why don't we
itself
just
out.
have the whole original cast
Original
come
cast?
back and do it?
Paul is helping us out. So the members of the film's Greek chorus are all named after 50s and 60s girl groups: the Ronettes, the Chiffons, and the Crystals. I love it.
Love. I love it.
That's it. It's like you're right. They're like, yeah, it's like this 60s style powerhouse
Yeah.
like diva groups, women's groups, girl groups.
Yeah.
Like that's it. That's it.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
Shout out to them. They were incredible. They were just
Yeah.
like fantastic. In my mind, I would love to have like a group of those three women to just follow me around and be the chorus in my life. They could like let me know when bad things were about to happen. They could do like a sing-songy, like, you know how like you talk about wanting to have like your own theme song. I want my own Greek
Yeah.
style chorus to just follow me. I don't
Yeah.
want a theme song. I would just like a chorus. I think that would be fantastic.
That would be so funny.
It would be really funny. I'm trying to
I
think what
don't
else
I
we
don't
didn't cover in this one. What else do we need to talk about from this one? Not that there's
There was I noticed Maxwell House. So the original Audrey plant was in a Maxwell House tin, which I think was just like designed specifically for the movie. But I was like, oh, that's fun product placement because it's like you have to actually notice it. It wasn't
yeah, and people reused those tins for like absolutely everything. Like that was kind of the
everything.
joy of the Maxwell House tin is that it could be anything.
Yeah.
It could be anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's fun. I don't know if I caught that, so that's a good shout out.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
her original tin at the beginning of the movie,
Mhm.
which so the boss, so they Audrey
Yeah, we didn't
and
really
Seymour.
talk about the boss. That's true. We should chat a
Yeah.
little bit about their backstory. So the boss like saved at least Seymour's character, or that's like the implication that he
Well, I mean, yes, he
gave
pulled
him
him
a
out
job.
of
He
the
pulled him out of the
orphanage,
orphanage. Yeah.
gave him a place, like a roof. He was like a father figure to him,
Yeah.
but it also seems like he didn't pay him.
Yeah, and they are still living in Skid Row. They're still living in
Yeah,
like not a
yeah.
great safe neighborhood by any means.
Yeah. He had an unsuccessful flower shop because it
Mhm.
was in a really bad neighborhood.
Mhm.
But it's funny, as soon as so he does, in all fairness, listen to Audrey's idea, like, oh, Seymour's been working on this really cool exotic plant. Let's display it in the window. So then
Mhm.
they become famous for this plant for
Mhm.
Audrey II. And but then he kind of turns on him because the dentist incidentally dies.
Yeah, the dentist
Because
kind of kills himself by
yes, he
accident.
did.
Yeah.
He accidentally overdosed on laughing gas.
Yeah. Not to downplay Seymour's role in all
Seymour
of the
was
deaths,
planning to
but
kill him to
yeah.
feed him to the plant.
Yeah.
But
Because
then
of
he didn't have
jealousy,
to.
though. I mean, because of jealousy, so it's
Yeah.
okay. I think maybe I don't.
Well, I mean, he was also a bad guy and he was beating up on Audrey.
He was a bad guy.
So he was a very terrible person.
Yeah.
But and thing is, and this is the part that I'm like, was that necessary? So Seymour is chopping up the dentist with an axe
Mhm.
to feed him to the plant.
Sure, because the plant asked for it. The plant said they couldn't possibly eat the person whole, which is a
And
lie.
the
'cause
plant
eats people whole
suggested-
later, but sure.
Yeah, well, right? So
Yeah.
he does eat like everybody else whole after,
Yeah, I also
including
had a moment
the
where I was like, Seymour takes an axe and cuts up the dentist, but like leaves all of the clothes on, which is better for the rating of this movie and for just our mindset. But it's like, so they're just throwing the plant like rubber boots and like wrapped in newspaper. And like, I was like, oh, all right,
Yeah.
the plant's like cool with this, but needs this cut up. Like, this feels like a weird,
right?
a weird thing.
But then
but
we'll
sure.
eat like Audrey whole in her wedding dress.
Yeah.
So the plant shop owner is holding Seymour at gunpoint.
Because he
and
saw him
saying,
cut
like-
up the body. Yeah.
Yeah, because he witnessed it and he's like, I'm gonna force you to go to the cops, or
Yeah.
you can get out of town.
Yep.
You know, like tell me how to take care of the plant and you get lost and I'll be rich off the plant and you won't go to jail. So the plant eats him.
Yeah. It's a wonderful scene because he's standing there
Yeah.
threatening Seymour. So Seymour's looking at the plant and the boss is looking at Seymour, and the plant's just like opening its mouth larger and larger. Like, it's got to be, I have not seen this as a stage production, but I desperately want to because I just think it would be like, it's fun to watch it in the movie just because of how over the top ridiculous it is. And that moment is great for that because you're like, oh, behind you, the plant, behind you.
You get really up close and personal. Like the plant is
Mhm.
disgusting inside. It's like all sort of this like mucusy, webby, gross,
Yeah.
like textiles.
Yeah, it's a gross puppet. Okay, this just in for my favorite fact of the night. Way to go, Paul. Frank Oz's father was the head of a dentist organization. See, and he's ruined dentists for me for forever. I'm just like, always just been like a little bit afraid of dentists, and this is definitely largely why. Steve Martin / Frank Oz's / father's faults. It's everyone's
I
fault.
wonder if this contributed to a sort of, downturn in dentist visits.
I do love the concept that oh, you're a little bit evil, so you should become a dentist. And then there is like a line, I forget the exact quote, but there's a line like later in the movie where they're like talking about the dentist, and they're like, she keeps saying that he's a professional, and he's saying that he's like a doctor. There's like a line that's like a dentist is like not really a doctor. It's like, okay, but they are. It's a lot of work.
It's like, oh, you make a lot of money and people call you a doctor even though you're not actually a doctor. Which
it's like,
is
oh,
kind of
we're
mean.
just slamming the dentist. Okay, fair enough. Yeah. It's
maybe Oz had some issues with his father.
yeah, apparently.
Who
Apparently
knows?
some feels.
Well, I mean, he didn't write the original,
No, that's true.
so
That
it's
is true.
not
I'm gonna have to go back and watch the 1960 version just for a comparison's sake.
I will never forget Jack Nicholson walking into the shop.
Mm.
Like it's burned into my memory. He was so scary looking.
Jack Nicholson is always scary to me. I'm sure he's lovely, but he's in my mind. He is like a amalgamation of all of his like creepiest characters, just embodied in himself as a person. So
He's very good at his job.
mhm. Yeah,
If we're still kind of creeped out by him, he's just really good at his job.
he really, really is. Well,
Oh boy.
I think we're just about at potato review time. So
Yeah,
if you're hanging out
we
with
are.
us and we still have not scared you too much, both with this movie and how crazy it all is, feel free to drop in, I don't know, a number of plants or wedding dresses or what else can we review in? I mean, potatoes. If you're feeling traditional, you could review this in the amount of potatoes. Yeah, Paul's favorite quote. Paul likes the dentist parts. Arthur Denton says, I think I need a root canal. I definitely need a long, slow root canal. Oh, Bill Murray. And they let Bill just be Bill. Like there was everyone else had a script and they were like, go ahead, Bill, just say whatever you want. This is what you need to
I mean, isn't that the charm and trick of Bill Murray?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
you just let him do.
You just let
It's
him,
kind of like
yeah.
Robin Williams,
Yeah.
like let him just let him go.
Just
let him go and magic will happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, as usual, I just rated it without telling Nat. So here, are you ready, Nat?
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
Drum roll. Wait, do I have a drum roll? Oh, I gotta add it. Oh no, I do. No. Yeah.
No.
Yay! I went with 4. Oh, Paul did teeth. Good call, Paul. 5 teeth. I was back and forth between 4 and 5 because I probably could be talked into 5. I probably could be talked into like 8 or 10, but it also is like not for everyone. So I removed a potato because it's definitely weird. It's a cult classic. This is a cult classic.
It is a strange movie.
Mhm.
I mean, even though it's described as a campy rock and roll horror musical.
Yeah.
I mean, that is kind of gives you
that's
full
accurate.
picture of what it is.
Yeah.
You still won't expect it if you're
it's
watching it
still
for
a
the
little
first
shocking.
time.
Yeah.
It's still,
shocking.
you're just like, people like this?
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, but I like this.
It's so catchy though. It reminds me why I love musicals so much. Like every time I'm just like, there's something a little bit insane anyway about a musical, like, because especially if it's more serious, right? Because it's like we're having a serious moment and now we're breaking into song. Like
and dance, usually in dance.
And usually in dance, yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, I could just listen to the soundtrack forever. This is actually what I should just buy the soundtrack for because it feels like I need to own the soundtrack. Well, we've convinced Josh. Josh is giving it 5 taters for his must add to the list movie. We will try to get you a copy, Josh. I'm on the hunt to get this one and Ernest Scared Stupid over to you. I may not pull it off in time, but I'm gonna try my best. Yeah, and these two, I'm glad we're finishing with these two. I like both Little Shop of Horrors and Ernest Scared Stupid are both scary. They have scary
Yes.
moments in them. They're definitely scary movies, but they're also just so and I hate to use the word. They're so earnest and, and
Shady.
silly and fun that it disarms a lot of that. So I think these are like good intro movies if you want to try to watch a Halloween movie or a scary movie and you're not a scary movie person. This is your vibe. This is your
This
space.
one is not family friendly though. There's a lot of
No.
sexual inappropriateness.
Yeah.
You know,
Do you
like
think- I was on the fence. I was actually going to let my 13-year-old watch this, and I might still. I don't know if that makes me a bad parent or not, but I was like,
no.
I feel like what you had said
Look, we saw
earlier,
it
a
younger
lot
than
of
I'm
that,
sure.
like there's no gratuitous gore in this. There's actually no gore in this at all. Like the even when he's like killing and chopping up the dentist, it's like a silhouette through a sheet.
in shadow,
Like,
yeah.
you don't see any of it. You definitely see like people getting fed to the plant, but it's so silly and there's no like blood pouring out of it. Like it's probably very tame compared to what most kids see. And I think
Yeah.
and I'm normally the one that like fights against this when other people mention it, but I think that the sexual innuendo, albeit 100% there, particularly in Bill Murray's role, I think it's so like high level that I'm willing to bet that it goes above most kids' heads. What I wonder is
Yeah,
like,
it's
is the
also
concept
it's
of
the
it
ab-
eating
it's
plant
the
be scary?
abuse though too. You know,
Yeah,
it's
the
the
abuse.
assault and the abuse.
That's true.
But I mean, that's something that you can't like hide from
Mm-hmm.
kids. Like they should see that it's bad, and you do that, you get chopped up into bits and fed
Mhm.
to aliens.
True. Yeah, it's got life lessons. That's actually what we didn't talk about. This movie, technically speaking, has a little bit of a moral and life lessons. Like it's really out there to show you that
Yep.
like it's talking about, how bad greed is, how like I mean, he does give in to all of this, right? It's like he finds this plant. He really just wants the girl to like him. He wants to be like successful. He wants to kind of move to the next level. And
Well, he wants to take care of her.
he wants to take care of her. So
In all fairness, that's his biggest
that's
motivator
true.
is he wants to take care of
Yeah,
Audrey.
being in love with Audrey. But
So he's not going after it to be famous, because when he becomes famous, he's
he is
losing it.
That's true.
Yeah.
But I do love that like there's a definite moment where the plant's like, feed me, I eat people. And he's like, okay.
Well, the plant does point out how bad the dentist is,
plant
and
talks him
you
into
could
it, yeah.
you could see like across the street like shadows from Audrey's apartment where he's beating her up,
Yeah.
which is terrible.
That's terrible, yeah. I would fast forward that part.
Yeah, so the plant is like, what about him? And it's like, oh yeah, okay, he's an abuser and he's hurting the woman I love.
Yeah.
We can kill him. Like that's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, vigilantism is never okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's a Batman.
But,
It's a Batman move. I'll allow
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I'll allow it this particular time. So I did. I was going to screen grab this, so thanks, Paul, for sharing it. But Paul says has a quote from the movie at the very beginning that says, "On the 23rd day of the month of September, in an early year of a decade not too long before our own, the human race suddenly encountered a deadly threat to its very existence." And the second that like those like Star Wars type credits rolled, I was like, darn it. We should have done this one on the 23rd of September. We really screwed the pooch on this one. So yeah,
I didn't remember that.
yeah, I didn't remember it until it started.
I'd
and I
have
was
to
like,
have watched
darn
it ahead of time recently to
And we had a
remember.
solar eclipse recently, so we really failed on the release date of this. But you know what? Here we
Yeah,
are.
yeah, yeah.
Next solar eclipse, you can rewatch this episode and you'll appreciate it even more. I think it's like 2076. Hang in there with us. So 2076, you can rewatch.
It
this
was super
episode.
cloudy here. We didn't get to see it. so
See, yeah. All right, so there you go.
it
Good.
rained.
Yeah, but there were no plants that we know of that landed on the earth to kill people. So we're it's okay. A little bit of rain, better than man-eating plants.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you to everyone for hanging out with us. And I'm so excited for our grand finale of spooky season next week. Ending it with Ernest Scared Stupid just feels completely appropriate. And then we're moving into some fun episodes. We're doing a crossover episode with our friends at If These Balls Could Talk, which will be really fun. We're gonna do Sandlot, so that's coming soon. And what else? Oh, we have Kathy and Kenny joining the show. We're gonna be talking about Better Off Dead, which is one of my all-time favorites. I'm really excited by that.
Yep.
And then holiday movies, y'all. We're moving right into like all the holiday movies. I don't even know which ones yet, but it's going to be
I have
glorious.
no idea.
B-list ones, because we picked all of our favorites for last year. So, now we're going to have to really dive deep into the list and figure out.
We might need to watch the Muppets.
Oh,
There's a Muppets
yeah.
Christmas movie,
yeah.
but
Not
not
Christmas
the Christmas
Carol.
Carol.
Yeah.
No, I think it was strictly for TV.
We'll find it.
A Royal Canadian Mounted Police saves Miss Piggy during a snowstorm. It's epic.
We're going to take it back to Frank Oz again. We're taking it right back to Frank Oz. And maybe we can find that Frank Oz, Kenny Ortega crossover movie. Maybe it'll be holiday themed. It's going to be glorious. It's going to be glorious. Well, stay
Amazing.
tuned. Well, if you haven't already, make sure that you swing on over to the VHSClubPod.com. Sign up for our emails so that you can keep an eye out for fun giveaways still to come, and keep an eye out on what our schedule is, because we play it loose and free with the schedule. So you want to be on the email list just in case we
Most
switch things
Thursdays.
up. Most Thursdays. Tonight's a Wednesday, so we're doing it. We're doing it crazy. And happy Halloween. Happy Halloween,
Yes.
Matt. Happy
Have
Halloween,
fun,
everyone.
everybody who's going out. Be safe.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Send us photos of your costumes if you're gonna whether you're at home or going out, whether you're an adult or a kid. We don't care. Show us your costume. We love a good costume.
Going out with my 2-year-old niece.
Photos.
She randomly decided she wanted to be a witch for Halloween. Luckily, I have my old witch hat still from when I was like
Perfect.
3 or 4, so she's going to be wearing that. And my sister-in-law is also going as a witch, and I'm going as Stevie Nicks, so also a witch.
Fantastic.
A
like-
white witch, but
Yeah,
you know.
it's practical magic vibes. I enjoy it. I approve. Approve for me. Approve for me. I'm not dressing up this year, but every single year I tell myself that I'm gonna get the Miss Frizzle from the Magic School Bus costume. So I might just buy that and just wear it post Halloween and just be proud of myself about that. So potentially photos to come on that front. I just feel like I could wear that costume just for kicks, even if it's not Halloween.
I mean,
I'd
it's
feel
a
good in it.
dress with a print.
Yeah.
You could just
with
wear
Saturn
that.
earrings. So it's very me. I feel like that might need to happen.
I feel like you already have planetary earrings of some kind.
I probably do. Josh is staying home and listening to Ghostbusters. That one we still have to do on our list. Thanks, Paul, for hanging out with us on another fun stream. Thanks to the Nostalgic Pod Blast. See, Val's taking it back for Christmas movie of her favorite is Wonderful Life. I cry every time on that one too.
Yeah,
And I'm with
same.
you, Paul. Die Hard is still a Christmas movie, but we've done that. We could do it again. We could just do Die Hard every single year.
Every
Same
Christmas.
episode. Different thoughts
just
and
do Die Hard.
feelings every single year. Yeah, absolutely.
Or the same thoughts and feelings
The
every
same-
year
the
about
same
Die
thoughts and
Hard.
feelings about Die Hard. We'll just keep redoing the episode in slightly different ways. It'll be great.
You know what a
Absolutely
great
perfect.
Halloween costume would be, speaking of Christmas? What's their faces from Christmas Vacation? The neighbors in their shiny silver tracksuits.
Right?
I don't know, Todd.
I don't know how
Why
to
is
wet
the floor
Margot. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Oh.
Fan.
Well, we hope you have fun and you stay safe and have just the right amount of candy to make you happy.
And we will see you next Thursday. So when you have an extra
back to
day
Thursday.
to watch Ernest Scared Stupid. And again, be sure to check out our website, thevhsclubpod.com, for all of our details, episodes, show notes, newsletter, voicemail, all the fun stuff. And we will see you on Thursday. Happy Halloween.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
King and Matt, walking the scene with